Okay, this is Esther from Exercise Academy, and we're on English Live with Esther, English Live with Esther. And this is Saturday Tonic. Saturday Tonic will be discussing issues that pertain to life. Saturday Tonic is all about discussing English that pertain to life while speaking in the right diction. So we're going to be speaking and discussing English Live with Esther, Saturday Tonic. Now today, we'll be looking at the topic domestic violence. Before I go on, English Live with Esther is all about making the English language informal. I want to discuss with you, I want to have a one-on-one chat with you. I want to discuss with you, I want to know what you feel. I want to know how you feel also. That's why I decided to go live. So I can feel you and you can see me naturally and we can discuss. English Live with Esther doesn't stop the other uploads. I have my videos on English vocabularies and we have English pronunciation. And today, English Live with Esther, we are looking at the topic domestic violence. Domestic violence. Are you experiencing domestic violence or you know someone that is experiencing domestic violence? I would like you to pop in, let's discuss it, let's talk about it, let's find a way around it. Because it is prevalent in our society today. I want us to find a way how to go about it, how to handle the situation of domestic violence. And when you pop in, I want you to say hi. Don't leave without saying hi. You say hi, then give me a like. If you don't like domestic violence, you will like my video, so give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. If you're against domestic violence, you will like my video and give me a thumbs up. Now, what is domestic violence? What is domestic violence? Domestic means family. It means home. It means where you stay around you. Then violence means aggression. It means anger. It means fighting. It means hate, brutality, cruelty. And at times, it could lead to bloodshed. So when you put the two words together, you know what domestic violence is. But before we commence, let me tell you a story. There is a man, James. He likes his privacy. He likes his life. He likes to enjoy himself. He likes the good things of life. He likes coming in at the time or any time he likes without any question from anybody, be it his parents, his mom, his dad, or his spouse, because he later became married, but he still had the attitude of not wanting to share anything with anybody. He is the quiet type. He doesn't like talking much. He likes to just be himself, be on his own without talking. And he hates when you ask him questions. He hates when you probe him too much. If he talks, he just makes one or two sentences and just leave it like that. He doesn't want you to ask him too much question. But he forgot the fact that he married a woman, Mary, that likes asking questions. Mary is an open person. She believes in communication. She believes in talking. That's why she had a problem with her husband. Her husband came in late one night and she got engaged in a conversation with the man, James, asking questions. And she was asking him where he had been all day and why he came home late, asking him what the problem was. And James felt irritated with the question and he decided to ignore her, let the dinner set on the table, went upstairs to bed. Mary did not stop there. She went again after him, asking questions, probing him, questioning him. She was questioning him. Even if he wasn't answering, she was still asking questions, probing him, as if she was a judge. And suddenly, James felt irritated, and before you knew what was happening, His hand was up and he gave her a slap on the face. And unconsciously, Mary wasn't expecting it. She yelled and shouted and continued probing again. At the top of her voice, she was yelling and yelling and yelling. And James could not handle it. And that was how he gave her the beating of, of her life that day. Mary cried and sobbed all through the night, waited till the morning, and the next morning she quickly went to the police station, called the police on James, and got him arrested. And believe you me, James was there for 1 week. She wanted him to learn a lesson, not to be violent. She wanted him to learn a lesson, not to raise his hand again on her. But that did not stop James because it still continued in their marriage. The beating continued until Mary could no longer take it and she got a divorce. She left the marriage. Now, that is domestic violence. Having to fight uncontrollably all the time, having to argue, which could lead to assault. Now, it is different from normal conflicts. I'm not saying as a couple you shouldn't have normal disagreements or you shouldn't have normal quarrel. Quarrel is normal. You're human beings. We are two different people, coming together to stay together in a house, be it married, whether you're married or not, you're coming together, you're staying together. You're not the same. You have the same different qualities. You have different attributes and different attitudes, so you're bound to quarrel. You're bound to have one or two matters arising and lead to quarrel. But that is different from domestic violence. Having to quarrel, having to clash amongst yourself is normal. But domestic violence is the kind of attitude that you use to threaten or wanting to control someone at all time. The kind of attitude you have as a person to control or threaten someone is the kind of behavior you use to threaten or control someone. That is domestic violence. Having the kind of behavior to always want to be in control. You always want to control a person. You always want to be in control. That is domestic violence. Using whatever you have around you, using what it takes to want to control a person. Now, the key elements here are control and threats. You threaten the person and you control the person. That is domestic violence. So it's the kind of behavior that a person uses or threatens to use to control an intimate partner. Domestic violence can come in different forms. You can be abused domestically in different forms, in different ways. Now, one thing you should know is an abuser does not feel guilty of his abuse. It takes his, if you're coming in, this is Esther from English Live with Esther, and we're looking at the topic domestic violence. If you're against domestic violence, you would give me a like, you would give me a thumbs up, you would give me a like. Now, domestic violence is an attempt by one person to control the other. In a relationship, you are together. The man and the woman are together. You are not separate. So no one is in control. Both of you are on the same page. You should be on the same page. So an attempt by one person to control the other is called domestic violence. An attempt by one person to control the other is domestic violence. Have you experienced domestic violence at one time of your life or not? Or do you know someone that has experienced it? I would like to know what your take is on this topic, domestic violence, because it's something that is prevalent in our society today. And it's also something we should not ignore, because this violence could lead to bloodshed. We should not ignore it. Domestic violence, like I said, is trying to dominate or control, trying to be in charge, trying to be on top, trying to be at the head of everything, trying to be, nobody should get to you. If you're the man, the woman should not get to your standard, to where you are. The woman should be beneath you. Most times, the victims of domestic violence are women. That's why I'm looking at it from that angle. You should not dominate or threaten or want to be in control. You are partners. You should stick together. You should be together in all things at all times. Now, domestic violence and abuse are used for one purpose. Why do people even abuse? Why? What's the purpose? The purpose of it is to gain control. I'm using that word control because that's the main reason why people abuse. That's the main reason why people engage in domestic violence, because they want to be in control. They want to gain control at all times. They want to be in charge. They want to be in control over anything and anybody, over their partner. They want to be in control. So once they find out that they are no longer in control, they tend to abuse the other partner. Once they find out that they are no longer in control, in charge of what's happening around them, they tend to abuse the other partner. Domestic violence can happen to anyone. It doesn't select age, neither does it select race. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to men, it can happen to women. But like I said, women are most victims of domestic violence. So it can happen to anyone. It doesn't discriminate. It can happen to any age. It can happen to anyone from any ethnic background. It can happen to anyone from any economic level. So it doesn't matter whether you're rich or whether you're poor, or it doesn't matter whether you're young or old. Domestic violence can happen to anyone. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't select who to affect. It doesn't select who to affect. But while women are more victimized than men, domestic violence is still most times with the women occurs verbally. Verbally, women they're quick to speak. They're quick to talk back. And a man doesn't want a woman to talk. He wants the woman to be nodding his head and listening. So at times when the woman speaks up, when the man doesn't want the woman to speak, if the woman speaks up, the man can react. And his reaction could be verbally or non-verbally. Verbally, bad words, insulting the woman, talking rashly at the woman, using harsh words at her. That is verbal assault, verbal abuse. And it could also be nonverbal when he decides to use his hand to hit her, to beat her, to assault her. Domestic violence forms, and no matter what forms it comes, it is not accepted. We should not accept it. Or it deserves to be safe. Everyone deserves to have his or her own self-esteem. Everyone deserves that in life. So domestic violence as a behavior should be ignored. It should not be accepted. It should not be accepted. It should not be liked. No one should like it. And if you don't like domestic violence, I know you like my video because I'm talking against it. And as I'm talking against domestic violence, if you don't like domestic violence, you give me a like, you give me a thumbs up. I want to know that you are on the same page with me. I want to know that you are flowing with me to talk against the crime, domestic violence, to talk against the behavior, domestic violence. And this is English Live with Esther, and we are talking to the topic discussion for today is domestic violence. Now, there are different types of these domestic violence. If you're coming in, I would like to know your take on the topic domestic violence. It is something that is prevalent in our society, and we should frown at it. We should not smile at it. It's something that is prevalent. It should not be ignored and should not be accepted. So we should shun it and we should frown at it, and anyone that does it should be reported, should be exposed. Because domestic violence, if not to death, it can lead to bloodshed. Now let's look at the different types of domestic violence. But before we look at that, let me tell you another story. There is a man and his wife, because it usually happens between couples. Now, this woman was walking along the way, and okay, this man didn't want the woman to get a job. So the woman went out jogging one day, and she decided within herself, I want to get a job. I want to get a job. I want to start working. So she applied for different jobs, and luckily for her, she got a job, and she started working. The man frowned at it, but he did not say anything. He didn't like the idea, but he just kept it to himself. So the woman was working, and she was saving her money, because the man was also working. He had enough money to fend for both of them. So the woman was saving her money, and she kept the money saved in a place until it was enough to build a house. And she used the money in building a house. And she built the house and kept it out for rent. So the house was up for rent, and she had tenants in the house without the knowledge of the man. The man didn't know about it. Years went by, and the man went out of job. He was jobless and searching for money. There was no money anywhere. And the woman still did not tell the man that she had a house somewhere she kept for rent. So she had money coming in. She did not inform the man. Now, what happened? The house they lived in the rent got expired. They needed to move out. So the woman told the man that there was a house down the street they could live in. It was cheap. So the man went there, made inquiries on about the house, and rented the house. They rented the place. And both of them, with their children, moved to the house. This is what happened. They lived there for 5 good years before the man found out that the house he was living in was actually his wife's house. He didn't even know that the woman saved enough money to build a house, let alone having the mind to rent the house to people without letting the man know. Not only that, the woman even rented the house to the man, and she herself stayed in her own house without letting the man know. The man became angry, and what do you expect? Of course, he gave the woman the beating of her life that day, because the woman was keeping secrets from him. That is too big a secret to keep. And I wonder why the man did not even know the woman was keeping that kind of a secret. Maybe because he himself was busy. If he had kept his eyes in his marriage, kept his eyes in his home, and he would have known what was happening, what was going on in his house. But he was so engaged or engrossed in whatever was happening around him, he didn't even know that his own wife built a house, and they lived in that house not knowing it was his wife's house. So he was paying rent yearly to the owner of the house, which was his wife, and he did not know. And the woman got the beating of her life that day, and she lost her ham. There are cases like this where the man even went to the extent of killing the woman. You wouldn't blame the man for that. That is not an excuse anyway. But there are actions we do that tend to lead to domestic violence, either from the part of the man or from the part of the woman. So keeping secrets in a home is also very bad. If you're coming in, this is Esther from Extra Stars Academy, and our topic discussion today is domestic violence. Domestic violence. And I said domestic violence is a kind of behavior a person uses or threatens to use to want to control an intimate partner. You and your partner, you're together. You want to control the person. You want to be on top. You want to be in charge of your partner at all times. That is domestic violence. You want to gain control. You believe you're in charge. He uses threats and control. That's the key element in domestic violence. Wanting to use threats at all times and wanting to gain control. He uses fear, guilt. He uses fear, guilt, and intimidation. Wanting to intimidate the other partner. And I said, if you like my video, it means you're against domestic violence. Though it is prevalent in our society, we should not stand for it. We should be against it. And that's why this video is on. If you have a situation, you have a story on anyone that has experienced domestic violence, I would like to hear your story. I want to know your take on it. What is your story? What is your story? What is it you've experienced about domestic violence? What is it you've experienced about domestic violence? Now let's look at the different types of domestic violence. Okay, we're looking at domestic violence. Let's look at the different types of domestic violence. Now, domestic violence is not only physical, it can be verbal, it can be spiritual, it can be emotional. So, not only physical assault, we have mental, we have emotional, we have spiritual, we have verbal. Now, we're going to look at them one after the other. We're going to look at all the types of domestic violence one after the other. English Live with Esther discusses issues informally with English native speakers of English and those who want to learn to speak the language. You come in English Live with Esther. We discuss. You learn new words. And our topic for today is domestic violence. So we're discussing it. Now we're looking at the types of domestic violence. And marriage abuse or domestic violence is not something you should deal. English journey with Linnea. Hi, thanks for coming. Thanks for the like. We are looking at domestic violence today. That's our topic for discussion, domestic violence. And I said domestic violence has to do with wanting to be in control, wanting to gain. How are you today? I hope you're cool. I hope you're safe. I hope everything is okay with you. English journey with Linnea. I hope everything is okay. Okay, so let's look at, thanks for the like, thanks for the thumbs up, thanks for the like. It means you are against domestic violence. Domestic violence is prevalent in our society and it's something we should all shun at. We should frown at it. No one should like domestic violence. So for liking my video, it means you're against domestic violence. That's a thumbs up. Thanks a lot. Now, domestic violence can be physical, it can be mental, it can be spiritual, it can be emotional. We're going to take the different types of domestic violence one after the other. Marriage abuse is not something you should take. If you're in a marriage and you're being abused, or if you're in a relationship and you're being abused, it's not something you should cope with. You may think, I can handle it. With time, the man will change. Adorable TV, hi, how are you today? How is everything with you? I hope you're good. I hope you're safe. Thanks for stopping by. I'm doing great. Adorable TV, I'm doing great. How are you? How is everything with you? Our topic is domestic violence. Do you have something to share with us on the topic? Or if you know someone that has experienced it, you can also share it. Domestic violence is a topic. We're looking at issues on domestic violence. It's not something we should tolerate. And most of the victims of domestic violence are women. And as a woman, it's not something we should like. It's not something we should tolerate. We should speak up. I gave a story of how a woman was violently abused by her husband, and she ended up arresting the man. Now, the society frowned at it. They felt the woman should not arrest the man, but the woman had a right. She ought to arrest the man for violently abusing her. They're in a marriage together. So the woman had the right to report it to the police, and the police took up the man, and the man was in the cell for 1 week. And I'm sure he learned his lesson. But most times, men don't learn their lesson. They always still go about it because it's part of them. They want to be in control. They want to be in charge. So if you have a situation or you've experienced it, you have someone that has experienced domestic violence, I would like to hear your story in this lesson. I would like to hear your story as we discuss domestic violence. Thanks a lot to Adorable TV. I hope you're still with me. An English journey with Linnea. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're still with me. Well, now let's look at the types of domestic violence. The first one, the common type of domestic violence is the physical abuse. That's the common physical abuse, where you see actions like hitting, pushing, slapping, beating unnecessarily. That is the common type. Hitting, physical abuse. You see men beating up their wives. You see men beating up their fiancés or their other partners. So the most common type of domestic violence is physical abuse. It is more frequent. Kicking with the legs, slapping with the hands. That is domestic violence. No one should tolerate it. No one should take it. We should all frown at it. We are not animals. And even in some countries, they don't beat animals. If an animal misbehaves, you can take a stick and start hitting the animal for misbehaving. I don't know. That is even being violent. Why would you, in the first place, want to hit a woman or a human being, the person that you call your other half? We are all one and the same because we're taken from the same rib. We are the same. There is no one that is greater. There is no one that is lesser. We are all equal. The most common type of domestic violence is the physical abuse. It is common. And some people feel it's normal. In a marriage, you hear a woman say, I can't even stay if my husband doesn't give me a slap. She sees the slap as normal. So if she talks too much and the man gives up, she's like, it's okay, it's normal. It's normal. And I don't think it's normal. I don't think we should live with it. We can live in a home, we can live in a marriage, or we can stay in a relationship where you don't have to be beaten or where you don't have to be slapped. Why would you be slapped? You're not a child. And even in some countries, they don't beat children. If you beat your child, you will be sued. So why would you want to violently assault your other partner? Esther from Extra Stars Academy English Live with Esther, we are discussing domestic violence. We're looking at the issue of domestic violence. Now, the second type of domestic violence that is prevalent is the sexual type, the sexual abuse. Sexual abuse, it includes any form of sexual act that falls on one partner by the other. So if one partner forces the other partner sexually, that is sexual abuse. Without the positive response of the other partner, without the other partner saying yes to it sexually, that's an abuse. So forcing yourself on your partner sexually is an abuse. And also what is prevalent in our society today is rape. Rape on its own is a violent abuse. And we should frown at it, we should shun at it. That is the second form of domestic violence. Esther from Extra Stars Academy, we are on live. I would like to know your take on this topic, domestic violence. I would like to know what you think. Of domestic violence. Are you experiencing it, or you know someone that has experienced it? You know someone that is involved in it? You know someone that is even doing it, that is involved in the act? I would like to know. Now we've looked at two types of domestic violence. Let's look at the other one, which is psychological. Psychological aspect of domestic violence is a kind of behavior that leads to intimidation. You see the man or a partner in a marriage always intimidating the other partner. The other partner is scared to speak up, is scared to look, is scared to do anything. Why? Because the other half is intimidating him or her. So our behavior can lead to psychological violence, like intimidation, isolating the victims from family or friends, telling the victim, you won't go this way, don't go this way, before you go, you let me know. That is domestic violence. Isolating the victim from the families or from friends, controlling where the victim goes and making sure the victim is always feeling guilty. That is domestic violence. That is domestic violence because it's affecting the other person psychologically. So psychological violence is also another form of domestic violence. Another form of domestic violence is emotional violence, because it undermines a person's self-esteem. It undermines your self-esteem. It always puts you down, because you're being called names. The other half is always insulting you, using hash words, using hash names, insultive names at you, and it will surely degrade your self-esteem. You start losing confidence in yourself. So emotional abuse is also a way of domestic violence. It's also a form of domestic violence. Constant criticism. There is nothing you do right in the eyes of the other partner. There's nothing you do well in the eyes of the other partner, because the other person is always wanting to push you down, make you feel down, wanting to make you feel under, wanting to make you feel below, wanting to make you feel beneath at all times. That is a form of domestic violence, and I don't think we should do it. No one, everyone likes their self esteem, everyone wants to feel respected. So, why would you want to disrespect your partner? Why would you want to make your partner feel disrespected? Why would you want to always insult or criticize your partner? Why would you want to always degrade or undermine your partner's self-esteem? When you do that, you are involved in emotional violence, which is not right. Now, we also have the economic violence. It means this happens when you're limiting the victim's access to family income. You know, when one partner is working and the other is not working, and the one that is working cannot give the other one money because he or she is not working, you're limiting the victim's access to family income. You know you're not working. Where do you intend to get money from? And you have the money, but you wouldn't want to share the money because the victim is not working, and the victim is experiencing emotional violence. You're preventing the person from working. You don't want the person to work. You're not wanting the person to work shows you're involved in emotional violence, in the economic violence, pardon me, in economic violence. So preventing the victim from working, or even forcing the victim to work. The victim doesn't want to work, but you are forcing. You must work. You must do this kind of job. You must do this. Even if you don't want to, you must engage in this kind of work. That is economic violence. That is economic violence, and we should frown at it. And whenever there's a quarrel, whenever there is a fight, you destroying the person's property. You know, we have cases where the couples are engaged in a fight, and the woman would just go get a stick and hit and destroy the TV, the television of the man, or television of the house, thinking it's the man's television. It is for both of you. Why destroy it? That is economic violence. You're destroying the property. Or going to the kitchen, destroying all the plate, the cups, just destroying properties. That's economic violence, because this money, these properties were gotten with money. That's economic violence. And always having to make the financial decisions in your home is also economic violence. The both of you are together. The both of you are a couple. You should discuss. Okay? So we're looking at domestic violence, and we are back live now. And we highlighted the different types of domestic violence. We looked at the different points in time where someone can be abused or domestic violated. Someone can be abused or domestic violated. We looked at the different, let's see, okay? Okay, we're good. Looked at the different types of domestic violence, and we saw physical, you can have physical violence, sexual violence, psychological violence, emotional violence, and even economic violence. Now, domestic violence often escalates from threats and verbal assaults to violence. So it could begin with threats. You're threatening the person. I'm warning you, don't do it. I'm warning you. leave me alone, or I dare you to. So it begins with threats. I told you not to, if you do this thing, I will. If you do this, I will. You're threatening. Why are you threatening me? You are threatening the person. So oftentimes it begins with threats. The person may not have it in mind to be domestic violence, to be violent. The person may not have it in mind, but the person is threatening the other partner. If you do this, I'll. If you go ahead and if you go to work today, you'll see the other side of me. That's a threat. If you go to work today, you'll see the other side of me. If you go ahead and get that job, you'll see what I can do. You know what I can do. You know the kind of person I am. So oftentimes it begins with threats. You're threatening the person, and from threats, verbal assault comes in. You're being insulting, insulting the person, calling the person names, saying words that you should not. Then from there comes either the physical abuse or verbal or psychological, and then you start hitting, beating, slapping, kicking, and oftentimes it could lead to blood shed. So let's mind the words we speak, because it begins with the words that comes out from our mouths. It begins with words. Words are like eggs. We know eggs. We all have seen egg. You've held the egg before. Now, if you hold the egg and you're not careful with it, if it drops, if it falls from your hand or from the plate, it gets broken. And once an egg is broken, it cannot be restored. Once an egg is broken, it cannot go back to its previous form or its previous state. That's how words are. Once the words are out from our mouth, we can't take it back. Once the words are out like an egg, it can't be restored, it can't be taken back. You don't say it was a mistake. You said it. It must surely remain in the heart of the person you said it to. It will remain in the heart of the victim. So before you go ahead and start saying what you're not supposed to say, I believe you should check your words. Check your words first. Check your words before you say it out, because it could lead to psychological violence. It could derange the person you're speaking to, the victim. It could also lead to low self-esteem. So before you say the words out from your mouth, you need to be very careful. Now, women respond to words. The words you say, women respond to them quickly, while men respond to action. So you find out that speaking to if a woman is talking to a man, yelling at the top of her voice, shouting, the man doesn't like it. The man doesn't like it either. He always likes, he may like a woman to be quiet, and women cannot be quiet at all times. So when a woman is always shouting and shouting and shouting, the man may not like it. And if he doesn't control himself, before you know what's happening, he has raised his hand. He's raised his hand to hit the woman or something. So while women respond to words, the men respond to action. Men respond to actions. They don't think, they can just act. So it's when they've acted, when they've done whatever they've done, that they start reasoning. What did I do? What did I just do? And at times when the woman has spoken, when she has said it, when she has insulted the man, the woman then will start thinking. Now, words are like eggs, I told you. So we should be careful with the words we say, because once the words are out, they cannot be taken back. They cannot be retrieved. They cannot be restored. So be careful with the words you say. Because the emotional and psychological effects of domestic violence are very severe. What it does, the consequences of domestic violence, the emotional and psychological consequences, what it does to the mind is very severe. So we ought to be very careful. You should not endure the pain of being violated. You should not endure domestic violence. And your first step to breaking free is realizing that you're being abused. Your first step to breaking free is realizing that you're being abused. Okay? Okay? Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. We're looking at domestic violence. Domestic violence. I said your first step to breaking free, your first step to breaking loose is realizing that you're being violated. Now, this is the first half of the topic domestic violence. If you missed my live section, I want you to give me your take on it. Let me know what you feel about the topic domestic violence. It's something that is prevalent in the society today. It's something that 1 out of 4 women experience and 1 out of 7 men experience. I don't think we should enjoy being violated. We should not endure domestic violence in our home. Because children that are being raised in a home of violence tend to be abusive themselves. When they grow up, they tend to be abusive. They tend to be victims of being abused, and they tend to be the abuser themselves. So we should put a stop to it. We should not accept domestic violence. In our next video, we'll look at the effects of domestic violence. We'll look at what it does. Why do women stay in it? Why do women enjoy being violated? Why would you enjoy? Why would anyone want to stay in a home that she's being abused in? Why would a woman want to stay in a home that has violence? Why would you want to stay in a home and endure all fighting, all the beating, the battering, the aggressions? Why would you want to endure that? Then we'll also look at why men beat. Why do men batter? Why do they assault? There are many reasons why men beat. From these 2 angles, we'll look at why women stay in the home even after being abused, and they're still being abused, they still want to remain in the home. Then we'll also look at why men beat. Why do men beat? Why? When we find the reason behind it, maybe we can address the issue. But no one should stay in an abusive relationship. The first step is you must realize that you're being abused. Once you realize you're being abused, then you come out of it. You can help your partner, and you can also help yourself. So realize, first of all, that you're being abused. Realize, first of all, that you're being abused. Once you realize you're being abused, you will surely come out of the relationship. Or if you decide to stay in it, you can help your partner. You can talk to friends or talk to counselors and help yourself and help your partner at the same time. So in our next live section, later today, this is Saturday Live. Saturday Live, Sunday Live also, we're looking at issues relating to life. We'll look at issues relating to life. This is English Live with Esther. And not only are we speaking, we're learning how to speak. And I said, English is necessary for you to speak in the right diction. And if you want to speak, you learn your English, your listening skills, your speaking skills, and your reading skills. In English Live with Esther, you're learning your listening skills and your speaking skills. This is Saturday Live, and our topic has been domestic violence. I want to know your take in it. If you missed my live section, drop your comments. Let me know if you've seen anyone in experiencing domestic violence, or you have experienced it yourself. I would like to know your take in it. Till we'll see and we meet again in our next live session later today. This is Saturday Technique English Live with Esther. If you don't like violence, you would like my video. Like my video, give me a thumbs up. But if you like violence, I don't think anyone likes violence. So we all don't like violence. I would like to see a thumbs up. I would like to see you like my videos. I would like to know your take on it in the comment section. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for everyone that came in, that joined in to make this session really interesting. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for everything. Thanks for your lovely comments. Thanks. And I hope to see you again later in the evening so we can continue in our section. Till we meet again later today, I remain your host, Esther from Exercise Academy. Do have a lovely day. Bye.